Battleground Indiana. Donald Trump and Hillary Clinton hoping to deal knockout blows to their opponents in a key primary. Live from CNN's World Headquarters in Atlanta, I'm Lynda Kinkade. CNN Newsroom starts right now.
If we win Indiana, it's over, okay?
I am in for the distance. As long as we have a viable path to victory, I am competing to the end.
We cannot let Barack Obama's legacy fall into Donald Trump's hands.
It's too late for super PACs. It's too late for billionaires to be buying elections. We need people to stand up and to fight back.
The U.S. state of Indiana is a hive of activity right now. The final hours of campaigning there underway ahead of Tuesday's presidential primary. Two candidates in particular, Democrat Bernie Sanders and Republican Ted Cruz, are going all out to win as many votes as possible. They're both lagging behind the frontrunners in their parties. This could be the primary that closes the door on them permanently. The delegate count up for grabs is a modest one, 83 Democrats and 57 Republicans, but this primary is considered significant. Jeff Zeleny is covering the Sanders campaign, but we begin with Sunlen Sefarty, who's been covering the Cruz campaign since the very beginning. Sunlen, looking at the latest poll, Trump has a double-digit lead in Indiana. Cruz claims everyone is watching Indiana, and he's hoping that the world, or at least the voters in Indiana, will pull the Republican Party back from the edge of a cliff. Is there a viable path forward for Cruz?
Well, Lynda, right now, the only path forward for Senator Cruz is to push this into a contested convention. He just does not have a viable mathematical path to win the nomination outright before a contested convention. So that's really is his focus. And that's why Indiana is so important and why we've heard Senator Cruz and his campaign really play up the stakes here in this state, because if he does not win here, not only would it be such an embarrassing defeat for him, but it really would significantly undercut the viability of his own campaign. If he were to not win here, it would really catapult Donald Trump going forward. It would really stand in the way of what they're trying to do, is to prevent Donald Trump from getting to the 1237, that magical number, the amount of delegates needed to clinch the nomination. That's really why we've really seen Senator Cruz really ratchet up the stakes in the final day, calling this state so pivotal and critical to his path going forward. Of course, so much of that wrapped up into Donald Trump's own path. Lynda?
And Sunlen, Trump claims that if he wins Indiana, it's game over. Have a listen to how he described the position of his two rivals.
And the two last ones, they're like hanging by their fingertips. They're choking. Don't let me fall. Don't let me fall.
He seems pretty confident, as usual. How is Cruz trying to wrangle delegates?
Well, the Cruz campaign has really, what we've seen from them is they've really put an all-hands-on-deck situation in these final days going into Indiana. Senator Cruz has spent the majority of the last week here and really sent out the full contingent of surrogates at their disposal. Not only his wife, but the state's governor here in Indiana, his running mate, Carly Fiorina. They are blanketing this state. They are trying to do as well as they can here tomorrow. But that said, going forward, it's really all about this behind-the-scenes wrangling for delegates that's going on, something that the Cruz campaign prides themselves on. Their goal, of course, is to push this into a second ballot at the contested convention if it comes to that. And they really feel that they, given with their organizational strength, have ability to really make these delegates come on board. And so that's what they're working on behind the scenes. So it's almost this dual track campaign right now. You have the campaign on the ground here in states like Indiana, but then you also have this fierce battle going on behind the scenes, preparing for the possibility of a contested convention. Lynda?
All right, Sunlen Sefarty, thank you very much. Jeff, just over to you, Jeff Zeleny, looking at the Democrats. Bernie Sanders still believes he has a path to the nomination. Take a listen to what he had to say.
It is virtually impossible for Secretary Clinton to reach the majority of convention delegates by June 14th with pledged delegates alone. She will need superdelegates to take her over the top at the convention in Philadelphia. In other words, the convention will be a contested contest.
Jeff, talk to us about Bernie Sanders' strategy in Indiana. How can he woo pledged delegates and change the heart of superdelegates?
Lynda, he is right about the fact that it will be impossible for Secretary Clinton to reach the majority of pledged delegates. He's right about that, but that doesn't matter, and this is why. Barack Obama, 8 years ago in 2008, also did not have a majority of pledged delegates. He had a majority of a combination of pledged and superdelegates. That's how the democratic process works here. That's how the democratic rules are. So the challenge for Senator Sanders is that, the math and the path, both are sort of running out here. Now, it's not to say he may not win here in Indiana tomorrow. In fact, the polls show it's very close. Not to say he may not win some states going forward here. It will be very close contest going forward. But Hillary Clinton has a significant lead in delegates, and that is something the Sanders campaign knows, and they know that this is a very uphill road to climb for him in the next 6 weeks or so of these contests.
And the Sanders campaign is also running out of money. It looks like he's going to have to lay off staff.
Well, they're actually not running out of money. They're not raising as much as they had been before, but he still raised some $26 million in the month of April. That is a lot. I mean, he is able to raise money, more than any other candidate we've seen by simply small dollar donations. They have, in fact, laid off some staff. They're about 300 staff or so, down from 1,000 early on. It's a sign that they're not as much of a long-term campaign. They're focusing on the here and now. But money is not necessarily his biggest problem. His biggest problem is math in terms of these delegates. He needed big wins in states like New York and other states. The Clinton campaign has won 5 of the last 6 contests. Regardless of what happens here in Indiana, she's still going to have a big lead in delegates. That said, he is going to go forward. It's certainly his right to go forward. She went forward 8 years ago till the very end of the line. No one would expect Bernie Sanders to do any differently. Lynda?
Okay, Jeff Zeleny and Sunlen Sefarty, great to have you both with us. Thank you very much. And for more analysis on the way the campaigns are shaping up, let's bring in CNN's politics editor, executive editor, Mark Preston from Washington. Great to have you with us as always, Mark. Now, Cruz claims the whole country is watching Indiana. How crucial is tomorrow's primary?
Well, it's certainly crucial for Ted Cruz because Ted Cruz really has staked his campaign on the state of Indiana. Now, having said that, if Donald Trump is able to win this Midwestern state, he's able to come out on top, I suspect you're going to hear the Cruz campaign on Tuesday evening and on Wednesday saying that California is the most important state at this time because what he's doing right now is grasping to any straw he can at this point to try to stop Donald Trump from getting the 1,237 delegates that Trump would need to secure the Republican nomination. And just to put this in basic numbers for our viewers around the world, there are 502 delegates that are left, that are up for grabs. Donald Trump only needs 235 of those delegates. He needs less than 50%. And the way the rules are set up, Donald Trump is on his way to winning this nomination.
And looking at Trump, he has made some pretty controversial remarks of late. As usual, he continues to accuse China of killing the U.S. on trade, and he has gone one step further. Have a listen to what he said.
We can't continue to allow China to rape our country, and that's what they're doing. It's the greatest theft in the history of the world.
Mark, how are those comments being received?
Well, this is, again, another time where Donald Trump is able to use words that no other politician would get away with. And when he uses that language, he's not necessarily directing it at Chinese leaders. He's directing that inwardly at the trade negotiators here in the United States, as well as past administrations that he says has failed at negotiating good trade deals for the United States. It's interesting, at times, Donald Trump will say good things about the Chinese and say that he has worked with them in the past. But really, that is squarely being laid at the doorstep of Barack Obama and the administration before that, George W. Bush. But again, Lynda, very incendiary remarks, kind of remarks that world leaders sometimes are questioning, or at least we're hearing this from our colleagues that are covering capitals around the world. World leaders are questioning how could they actually work with Donald Trump.
Absolutely. And it's not only those sort of comments. He has come under fire for comments regarding women, particularly claiming that Clinton is using the woman card to get elected. He again reiterated those comments on New Day today. And I just want to remind our viewers of the attack ads against Trump, where all the sorts of labels that he calls women have been used against him. The question I have for you is, can he turn his woman problem into a winning strategy in a general election?
And this is where I think his argument falls flat. To charge that perhaps the first woman Democratic nominee, perhaps the first Democratic president in the United States is using the woman card is really falls flat in many ways. It's kind of silly. Hillary Clinton herself has embraced it, is raising money off of it, and says if using the woman card is trying to make the median wage for women on par with men, if using the woman card is trying to protect women here in the United States, then she's using the woman card. Donald Trump has a problem with women, which is interesting, certainly with women voters, because there are a lot of high-powered women that work for his corporations. But at the same time, he is seen as a sexist by many people. And when he says statements like this, it certainly doesn't help his brand with women voters.
Preston, as always, great to have your analysis on all of that. Thank you very much.
Thanks, Linda.